Hey everybody. So I want to talk about the Calgary Flames a little bit here because Calgary is a team that is finally starting to show how good of a team they can be and how good of a team they really should be with that roster. Before we get into it, I just want to say that if you're not yet a subscriber to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. I do videos on topics from across the NHL, so as long as you're a fan of hockey and a fan of the NHL, there are videos here for you that you will enjoy. So, Calgary, they are 13-8-1 on the season, 27 points, and currently in first place in the Pacific Division. In their last 10 games, they're 7-3-0, and they're currently on a 3-game win streak. This is what the Calgary Flames should be. With that roster, with that much talent, they should be a winning team. They should be a playoff team. They should be a team that can compete for the Pacific Division, and this year they are finally showing that. Last year was a huge disappointment for the Flames, missing the playoffs. This year they are showing that they can be the team that they should be. And obviously the addition of Elias Lindholm has been huge for the Flames. That was just such a... It's turned out to be such a great move to get Lindholm in there. Hanifin for Hamilton, it seems it's kind of washed out as far as I'm concerned. But Ferland for Lindholm has been a fantastic offensive move for the Calgary Flames. I love Michael Ferland. I love his style of play. I think he's a very valuable piece, but he is not the offensive player, the point producer that Elias Lindholm is. And Calgary needed another point producer, and they got that in Elias Lindholm. Ferland, he's playing his style of hockey in Carolina, and in Carolina, they needed a guy like Michael Ferland, somebody to play physical, somebody to throw bodies checks, somebody to fight if need be. So, Lindholm is the kind of guy that Calgary needed more, and they're getting a lot from Elias Lindholm, and he's been a fantastic addition to this team. But it's been the guys who were there last year all along that are really helping and playing well a lot. Johnny Gaudreau, Sean Monahan, your staples, your best players on the team. Michael Backlund's playing really well. Matthew Tkachuk is having a huge year in Calgary. Offensively, he's always been an agitator. He's always been physical. But he is producing points like we've never seen him produce before. He is off to a tremendous start. Mark Giordano and TJ Brody, a couple of veteran guys on the back end, are playing really good hockey. Calgary just looks like a good team. They look like a team that can compete for the division title with San Jose. And when you look at the Pacific Division, overall it's not a great division. There's a lot of 500 hockey teams in that division. It's going to come down to San Jose or Calgary for that, whoever wins that Pacific. And I see no reason why Calgary can't finish higher than the Sharks. I think it's going to be a dogfight for the rest of the season between Calgary and San Jose for first place in that division. Because I think those are the only two teams that are even close to being division winners at this point. And they're both good teams, and Calgary is a very good team. They're scoring 3.41 goals per game, and we knew when you look at that lineup, you know that they're going to score. They're too talented not to score. The surprising thing for me is the 2.95 goals against per game. Under 3 goals a game against. And Calgary's a team that in the past, for the past few years, have had their issues have been defensively. It's not goal scoring. They've got a ton of talent up front. They're going to put the puck in the net. Their issues have been defensively, goaltending and defense, keeping the puck out of their own net. This year, they're doing a much better job of keeping the puck out of their own net. And we're seeing it in the standings. Rather than Calgary being 11-10-1 through 22 games, they're 13-8-1. And that doesn't seem like a huge difference. That's only a 2-game difference. But as you take this record on the record they're on pace for now versus what they would have been had they been a 500 team, and they're going to win a lot more games than they did last year. And they're not a 500 team. They're a better than 500 team. and that's going to get you into the playoffs in the NHL. Especially in the Pacific Division. Calgary, if they win, 47, 48 games, they're going to be right there to win that division. If they can get to 50 wins, they'll almost certainly win the Pacific Division. They're at 27 points now. I think they're going to need to get a little over 100 to probably win that division. And if they can do that, they're going to be the first Pacific team in the playoffs. And it's going to come down between them and San Jose. I don't see anyone else in that division competing with those two. Whoever gets third is going to be the last playoff team from that division that gets in. And then I absolutely see 5 teams from the Central going to the playoffs. But back to Calgary. Calgary is, when I look at this Calgary team, I see a lot of similarities between them and the Boston Bruins of last year. Young talent in the lineup, younger guys producing, maybe in some cases a little bit more than expected, but a lot of veteran leadership sprinkled throughout that lineup with the young guys. It's obviously not exactly the same, but Boston had all these kids come up last year and really produce well. Heinen, DeBrusk, Donato, Bjork, Grzelcyk on the back end. But they also had the veteran guys. They had the leaders. They had, Patrice Bergeron, Zdeno Chara, David Backes, David Krejci, Adam McQuaid. They had the leadership in place there as well. Calgary, it's not exactly player for player the same, but they're in a very similar situation. They've got young guys, especially on the back end now. Calgary's younger players are on the back end more than up front. But they've got Mark Jankowski up front, still a very young guy. Matthew Tkachuk's still a pretty young guy finding his way in the league. They've got younger players. Rasmussen on the back end, Villamaki. They've got young players in that lineup, but they also have veteran leadership. Guys who have been around the block, who have been in the league for a long time. Guys who really, can control the locker room and command respect. Guys like Mark Giordano. Guys like TJ Brody, who have been on that team for a long time. Michael Backlund has been on that team for a long time and in the league for a while now. Even guys like Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan have been on that team for years now. They're still younger guys, but they've got a lot of experience. There's a lot of experience in that Calgary locker room, and that is going to help them a lot down the stretch. Because you have to have a good mix of old and young in the NHL. If your team is too young, they're too inconsistent, because that's just how young players are. They make mistakes, they get down on themselves, they're inconsistent. If you have too many old players, then you're too slow, you're not skilled enough, you get left behind in the modern game. The modern NHL is not made for older players. You have to have a mix. You have to have those young, talented kids who are going to perform well and produce points and play really good hockey. And then when they get inconsistent and they have problems, they hit a rough patch, you have to have those veteran leaders who can turn things around a lot quicker, control everything, keep everything in perspective, lead in the locker room, lead on the ice. And Calgary has both of that. They have the young players, they have the point producers, they also have the veteran leadership. And that is how you build a team for success. When I look at Calgary, I see a team built for success, a team that should be successful. There's a lot to like there. The biggest question with the Flames that I see is, and it seems to always be the biggest question with the Flames since Mika Kiprusoff retired, and it's goaltending. Mike Smith is not having a good year. He's been healthy to this point, but he's not having a good year. He's not playing great hockey. David Riddick has actually been fantastic. He has been awesome this year and played much better than Mike Smith to this point in the season. But when your backup goaltender is your better goaltender and is taking starts from your starting goaltender, that is never a good sign, because that leaves a lot of questions. All the questions I have about Calgary relate to goaltending. They're going to score goals, I have no doubt about that. I think their forward group is fantastic. Their defense, I'm not worried about their defense. Barring any major injury to multiple of their top 4 defensemen, I think they're going to be fine defensively. They've got 7 defensemen that they can absolutely count on. And I think their defense isn't Nashville's defense, it's not Winnipeg's defense, but it's a more than suitable defense core. They're pretty good. And as long as you've got, guys like Hamonic, Giordano, and Brody in the lineup, they're going to be fine. Hannafin, they're going to be fine. My questions all stem around goaltending, because Mike Smith, health with Mike Smith is a huge problem. He seems to get hurt every year. This year he hasn't been hurt, but his play has been the problem. He hasn't been very good. Okay, so your starting goaltender hasn't been very good, but your backup is playing great. So David Rittich now has been fantastic. The question there is, can David Rittich play that well for an entire season? He's never been a starting goaltender in the NHL. He's playing great now for the first 6-7 weeks of the year, but is he going to be playing that great in January, February, and March? Can he carry that on all season long? That's a huge question mark because he's never done it before. Now, what if Rittich's play starts to go south, go downward, but Mike Smith gets better, then that's also okay. What if Mike Smith gets hurt and David Rittich's play goes south? Then you're in trouble as far as goaltending goes. What if David Rittich's play goes south and Mike Smith never gets any better? Then you're in trouble goaltending-wise. So there are a lot of questions about this team that all relate to goaltending. And that's the biggest question mark I see when I look at Calgary. Their forwards are fine. They're going to score goals. They've got good defense, certainly good enough to be a playoff team and maybe win a couple rounds in the playoffs. Goaltending is the question. Does the goaltending keep up in Calgary? If it does, I would bet on Calgary winning this division. If it doesn't, they will probably still be a playoff team just because the division overall is pretty bad, but they'll be one and done in the playoffs. So my biggest question with this team is goaltending, and other than that, I think Calgary is in very, very good shape to be a winning team, to be a division-winning team, and to be a team that could really make a splash in the playoffs. I don't know if they're Stanley Cup level, but they could definitely get to the second or third round of the playoffs if they continue to play at the level that they should play at and that they're playing at right now. So that's what I've got on the Calgary Flames. I really think they're a very good team and built for success. And I would love to see them and Edmonton face off in the playoffs. That would be my dream playoff series for this year, would be Calgary and Edmonton in the playoffs. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media, check out offthewallhockey.com. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support this channel, the link to our Patreon as well as the link to our merch store are both down in the description. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.